Hi guys, Nada here, and next to me I have a monitor that combines a 4K resolution with 144Hz refresh rate, the ASUS ROG Strix XG27UQ. But this monitor isn't just high-res and fast, it also offers some promising features as well. It has display stream compression, so you can actually run this 4K at 144Hz without having to deal with that annoying chroma subsampling. And ASUS also claims that this IPS panel has a 90% DCI-P3 color gamut for some serious creative work. It is also G-Sync and FreeSync compatible, and there is HDR support as well. Now, this isn't a full array local dimming monitor like the PG27UQ I did a while back, so it doesn't have hundreds of individual LEDs that control the brightness. But that is also probably the reason why it's considerably cheaper. So this one should cost you around $800 to $850 in the US when it becomes available there, though it is currently available here in the EU for around 940 euros. So let's check it out, talk about 4K gaming in 2020 and see what this monitor has to offer. Let's go. This video is brought to you by Cooler Master and their MH630 gaming headset. The MH630 is a sleek-looking headset that offers great sound and plenty of bass. It is really comfortable, even if you play for hours, and it actually offers one of the best microphones I've found at this $60 price point. Check it out using the links in the description below. At first sight, the XG27UQ looks very old school. The design is very bulky, with some serious bezels and a stand that takes quite a bit of space. It is only a 27-inch monitor, but it feels larger than most other 27-inch models out there. There is also a lot going on. Between the red details in the stand, the huge ROG logo on the back, and the red logo shining down from the base, this whole thing just screams for attention. Now, both the RGB on the back as well as the LED underneath can be turned off if you prefer, but there is no going around this gamer aesthetic here. What's actually very cute is that if you want, you can DIY and replace the ASUS logo on the desk to something else, assuming that, you're a little bit creative. Now, build quality is excellent as the stand is largely metal and all the big plastic surfaces actually feel really thick. It's extremely adjustable as well. You can raise it, you can lower it, tilt it, swivel it around, and even rotate the display 90 degrees, and you can base mount it if you want to. Now, one thing they should improve on is the little logo on the front, because it's just a simple sticker that you can accidentally wipe off if you're not careful, as you can see right here. Now, the same thing we saw on the more expensive PG27UQ as well, and it is a tad disappointing that they did not change it already. Now, for the connections, you get two DisplayPort 1.4 ports, two HDMI 2.0 ports, a USB hub, and a headphone jack, so enough to connect two PCs and two consoles. And even though the monitor housing is large, it does come with an external power brick to power it up. And while you can connect your headphones to it, keep in mind that the monitor itself does not come with any speakers. Now, as usual with ASUS, the OSD controls are really good. Their menus are always clear. The combination of a joystick with a couple of buttons is easy to work with, and there are a ton of features as well. Now, there are several presets, game enhancers like shadow boost and crosshairs or blue light filters, and I'll talk about some of the more important settings like HDR, sRGB mode, and ELMB later. So let's go over some of the standard test results before I talk about my experiences, and actually, the XG27UQ performs really well overall. It can go nice and bright at 484 nits, and unlike some other ASUS monitors, this one is very nicely dimmable with a minimum brightness of 64 nits. What's really impressive is the color gamut with full sRGB coverage and an excellent 92.5% result for DCI-P3 as well. So the range of colors this monitor can display goes a lot further than most monitors on the market. In the default racing mode, colors are a little bit oversaturated, but that can even be nicer for games. Now, gray balance is absolutely spot on, and that's something you can subjectively appreciate as well. And if you really care about color, there is an sRGB mode built in with excellent color accuracy. However, that does lock your brightness to around 200 nits, so that might not be ideal for very light environments. Other results are pretty average, I would say, like the contrast of 1026 to 1, the gamma of 2.14 average, and the white point at 6265 Kelvin. The uniformity percentages are pretty average too, but since it doesn't have one very weak corner, you'll probably never notice. Now the power consumption looks good as well, although it might be worth knowing that you can actually save about 2 watts if you decide to turn all the LEDs off. As it's a premium IPS panel, viewing angles are excellent as expected, and there doesn't seem to be any backlight bleed on my unit, which shouldn't happen on a premium monitor like this, but it does vary from sample to sample and still happens more often than not, so it's a lottery. So what is it like to use this monitor? I actually use a 27-inch Quad HD most of the time that I'm really happy with, so I was a little bit hesitant about having 4K resolution on a 27-inch display, especially at roughly twice the cost. However, the extra sharpness this 4K panel gives you is definitely visible both in-game and out of game, making this feel like an upgrade over the more typical Quad HD 144Hz panels. So, in my opinion, games do actually look better with these extra pixels, even if you have to lower the graphics settings a bit, and the games that actually support DLSS 2.0 upscaling to 4K, like Control, look even better. But unfortunately, the list of those games is way too short to just start recommending 4K gaming monitors to everyone out there. Now, more importantly, this panel actually feels fast too, and from a speed perspective, it's very competitive with current generation 144Hz Quad HD panels. Now, I don't have the tools to accurately measure response times yet. I am working on that. If you have any suggestions, please drop me a message. But the moving image sharpness just seems to be on a kind of similar level as the Gigabyte FI27Q or the Pixio PX7 Prime, for example, and that's pretty impressive for a 4K panel. Input lag also seems to be non-existent, making this monitor just feel really good in competitive shooters like Warzone, Overwatch, CSGO, whatever you're playing. 240Hz options like the Tough Gaming VG279QM are visibly faster, especially if you put them side by side, but this really isn't that far off. Now you could argue about pixels versus frame rates forever, but to cut a long story short, I personally don't think that there is a right or a wrong answer to what a perfect resolution for a 27-inch gaming monitor is. It completely depends on what you care about and what hardware you have, right? So if you don't have a great GPU and really love great looking games, you're probably way better off looking at cheaper Quad HD or even Full HD options instead. And if all you care is competitive online play, there are cheaper and faster panels out there that are better for you. But there is a lot to be said for this monitor and its fairly unique set of specs. You can actually get 144 FPS in lighter titles on high-end hardware, get a really smooth experience in AAA titles with a bit of help from G-Sync or FreeSync, and you can connect your PlayStation or Xbox and enjoy those games in 4K. And the fact that this has such a good panel from creative perspective, it just makes it a really great option if you want to combine gaming with that sort of work. Now, fast 27-inch Quad HD IPS monitors have been the ideal middle ground between gaming and productivity for a very long time now, but they really cannot beat the extra pixels you get for work here. Now there is something to be said about the ultra-wide monitors here as well. Now 3440 by 1440p monitors with a 144Hz refresh rate aren't really rare anymore and often cost way less than this one, while offering a very good amount of workspace as well. Now, I know a lot of you really like ultra-wide panels, but also a lot of you prefer 16:9 panels like this one. Again, there is no right or wrong answer here. You just have to kind of decide for yourself what your preference is. It's a really impressive panel, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows here. The HDR feature, for example, isn't all that impressive at all, as you probably expect from a Display HDR 400 certification, which really doesn't mean much. It is there, you get a little bit of extra brightness in HDR mode, and the panel definitely has the wide color gamut that is required, but it just doesn't do more than that. Now you can just play around with it and see if you like it, but just don't expect this to compete with proper HDR monitors or TVs. Now, another downside is the included motion blur reduction feature that ASUS calls ELMB. Now, this is meant to reduce motion blur by enabling backlight strobing, but in reality, it is just completely unusable. It causes a truly ridiculous amount of overshoot, making just looking around in a game painful to your eyes. Now, since enabling ELMB disables most other options like variable refresh rates or overdrive modes, you cannot actually tweak these settings either. Now, of course, we can completely ignore that this option exists at all, but it's just odd that no one kind of looked at this and thought like, okay, maybe we should kind of fix this before it goes out. So to sum it all up, honestly, I didn't think I would like this monitor as much as I do. The HDR feature isn't great and the ELMB mode is just confusing, but the actual panel in this thing is really impressive and it just feels like a next gen sort of thing. It is sharp, it is genuinely fast, and it can do colors exceptionally well. But the price plus the fact that you do want some serious hardware to be able to run the games on 4K means that for many users, cheaper Quad HD alternatives will still remain the go-to options for now. But I do think that if you have some extra cash and can really benefit from those extra pixels and you keep that ELMB off, this monitor can be a really interesting option. Now that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what do you think about this monitor and about this review. Don't forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and see you in the next one, guys. Bye.